What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome back to the channel and the College Hoops 2K Legacy Mode series here with Ken Carter as he continues to try to work his way up the college basketball coaching trees. In the last episode, we finished year one with a tough defeat to the Samford Bulldogs. It was an old school grit and grind type game, and unfortunately we came up short, but not before a very impressive first year of coaching from Ken Carter, as he led the previous 4-win UT Martin Skyhawks to a 13-16 record, 500 in conference play here in his first year at the helm of the program. So to kick off the first offseason in the series, we're going to recap the players that led UT Martin to this 13-18 record. At the forefront, we have Shaquille Hammond, the lone senior, moving on. He was a potent scorer for us, leading the conference in points per game. He had a career-high 38 points against Chattanooga as he moves on, leaving behind a legendary career as a Skyhawk, especially in the senior season. We have David Giles, the 2-guard. Coming into the season, we thought Giles was going to strictly be a 3-and-D player, but he's proven to have a knack for finding his shot by slashing into the paint with the array of finish he showed off this year. Averaged 10 his junior year and is the favorite to fill the scoring void left behind by Shaquille. We're going to take a look at Dwight Easley next, our point man. He didn't begin the season starting, but due to the struggles from junior point guard D. Cartwright, Coach Carter gave Easley the nod to start about a third of the way in the season, and it showed positive results in his personal stats and in the team's record. Only downside from Easley this year is that he shot under 40% in his freshman campaign, but he'll take the good with the bad with a player of, with this level of upside. Overall, great first season from Dwight and one to build off of. How about the rise from Marcus Saunders this year, with performances like 29 off the bench versus the best team in the conference in Eastern Kentucky, and averaging over 15 a game off the bench in the final 6 games of the season? The now sophomore guard has proven that he scores baskets in bunches. At the beginning of the year, Saunders was almost exclusively a driver and finisher on offense, but throughout the year he's developed his jumper, ending the season shooting over 40% from beyond the arc, a building block for the Skyhawks for sure. Moving on to another freshman, we have Joey Ballard. He's pretty shy and timid, but his abrasive side comes out on the court as he's had a solid freshman year to build off of. There was questions about his offense coming into the year, but thanks to his 6'7" wingspan, Ballard has proven to be one of the better defenders in the conference already. His offense is still raw. His high scoring outing this year was 16 points versus Tennessee Tech, but his energy and defense has proven that it makes him hard to keep him off the floor. Overall, a quietly strong season from the center from Eastern Europe. Floyd Zubek has become one of the better defensive anchors in the conference. While he doesn't block a lot of shots per se, this year he's shown an ability to affect and change a lot of shots in the paint, and he still leads the squad in rejections. He's shown to be a leader by example. He's very hard working and one more seasons ahead for him. The quick point guard D. Cartwright, he might have gotten benched early on in the year, but he's really taken stride in being that backup point guard. A solid 4 points and 2 assists off the bench for him this season. Blair Renfro will always have a spot in the rotation if he continues to shoot the ball like he did this year, shooting above 50% from beyond the arc. Continues to pour it in from the outside. Gene Schofield, another guy with a quietly solid freshman year. Depending on the recruiting class, he might not have a spot in the rotation next year, but if he does, he'll continue to put in effort. AJ Sullivan, a bench guy, a good rebounder for his size, but won't see the court very much next year. Davion Baez and Cameron Bethel, 2 young men that Coach Carter will continue to try to mold into key rotation players. We'll see what they can bring to the team in years coming. As we recap the season schedule, we can basically group the season into 3 parts. The first few weeks were Coach Carter just stepping in, trying to figure out which players do their best at what positions and his philosophy, and it can be tough for a star player like Shaquille Hammond to get used to new philosophies, but the first few weeks were just working out the kinks. And then in the middle of the season, that's when Shaquille Hammond really started to play better. He had 38 points against Chattanooga in the loss, and that was about the time when Shaquille Hammond hit his stride, is when we started conference play. We were pretty good to start, but sometimes it just seemed like when Shaquille Hammond had to do all the scoring, we lost most of those games. So that brings me to the third portion of the season, when it wasn't just Hammond doing all the scoring. Giles really started to come into his own as well, developing that driving game, not just being strictly a 3-point shooter. Easily, even when he didn't make an impact shooting the ball, he had a couple games with some very high assist marks, assist tallies, and overall the offense just looked great the more the season went on, and that bodes for us very well. As you can see, we won 5 of our last 7 games, and that's when we look the best. And that bodes well for next season because Shaquille Hammond's leaving, of course. That's 15 points per game off the board with the graduation of Hammond. So we have to look to other guys to fill that void. And with the way we ended off the season on offense, it seems like we might have it figured out. So moving on, recap March Madness. Unfortunately, we couldn't participate this year, maybe next year, but looking over, it was a pretty crazy March. Louisville, the top overall seed, goes down in the second round to the Texas A&M Aggies. Moving down in the East Regional, we have Kentucky doing what they do until they meet the Fresno State Bulldogs, as the Cinderella continues all the way till the Elite Eight, where they fall to Gonzaga, and the Bulldogs are our first Final Four participant. Texas is the top overall seed in the West, and they also lose in the second round to the UCLA Bruins, and UCLA makes it all the way to the Elite Eight, beating St. Louis, move down to the bottom portion. And surprisingly, Mississippi State, a 15 seed, doesn't really make much sense, but they knock off the Shockers of Wichita State. They make it to the Sweet 16 themselves as a 15 seed, and they get destroyed by Miami. And the Hurricanes continue on to the Elite Eight, where they fall by 2 to the Bruins. So it'll be Gonzaga and UCLA on the one side. We take a look at the South Regional, and Michigan State is the number 1 overall seed here. They do not share a similar fate to other number 1 seeds like themselves. They beat Xavier pretty handily, and they continue beating GWU, making the Elite Eight. Down here we have some upsets. Ohio State loses to Detroit Mercy, and it would be 2 double-digit seeds fighting for an Elite Eight spot, as Washington takes care of West Virginia and then eventually loses to Michigan State. So the Spartans making yet another Final Four here in the virtual tournament. We go down to the Midwest. Duke's the number 1 overall seed down here, and while they're winning, they aren't winning any of these games very handily, very convincingly. We'll see if that comes back to haunt them. Moving down, as the representative from our conference, Tennessee State, with some upsets, making some noise here in March. I've talked about Jasper Powell a lot. He's missed most of the season with a broken wrist, and he's come back for the conference tournament and the NCAAs, and as you can see, he makes a difference. This is the reason why I call him the best player in the conference, as they beat Florida, the Cyclones of Iowa State, as he had 13 in that game, Emmanuel Bryant with 14 and 8, the center, the freshman center at that. Continuing on, as they narrowly beat Missouri to make an Elite Eight appearance, but they fall by 7. So it'll be Duke and Missouri in the Elite Eight, and the Blue Devils take care of the Tigers, once again not winning this game that convincingly. So we'll see if Duke's subpar play will haunt them in the Final Four as they take on the always dangerous Michigan State Spartans. So we move up, and yes, it does. They fall victim to Michigan State by 12. Gonzaga knocks off UCLA but comes up short by 8 against the Spartans, as Tom Izzo hoists his second trophy at the helm of the Spartans from East Lansing. So now we'll recap the awards in not only our conference but around the nation. Karandrick Hutchins, the Player of the Year over in Ryder of all places, as the 6'11" senior representing one of the smaller conferences in the nation over there in the MAAC. Defensive Player of the Year, Hakeem Murphy for Florida. We're actually going to have to play Florida, as you guys will see, in year 2. Karandrick Hutchins, also Big Man of the Year, so my man is taking home a lot of hardware. Richard Kimbrough for Georgia Tech, he will hoist the Freshman of the Year trophy, averaging a clean 10 points per game. First team All-American, we got Taylor Bolden, DeJamal Sarchett, Jason Valencia, Karandrick Hutchins, and Matthew Baines. Second team All-American, we got our boy Mitchell Drew, as he led Texas to a number 1 overall seed in this series here. Reggie Mims, Cameron Holmes, Francis Everhart, and Stephen Humphrey. And that rounds out the All-American lists. Freshman All-American, another familiar face. We've got Jerome Clifford leading the way. Derek Ishmael, Cam Graves, who led all freshmen in scoring in the nation. Kimbrough again, and O.J. Smith for the DePaul Blue Demons. Conference champions of the regular season, of course, it was EKU. Came up short to Tennessee State in the Ohio Valley Conference championship. Coach of the Year goes to Tennessee State, as he led TSU to a Sweet 16 appearance. He deserves it. Maybe Coach Carter will be up here one day, but for now, congratulations to the Tennessee State coach. Devontae Douglas, Conference Player of the Year at 13 and 8 as he leaves Tech. Thank goodness, this guy killed us a few times this season. We had a lot of good freshmen this year, but the conference freshman of the year goes to Emmanuel O'Brien, who just oozes potential. He's got player of the year written all over him a couple years from now, so be on high alert for him. First team all conference. Surprisingly, no Shaquille Hammond on here. We got Powell, JT Mobley, the very athletic Johannes Monroe, Devontae Douglas, of course, and Trevor Grangieri. 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore round out first team, but surprisingly no Shaquille Hammond as he comes up on the second list. I think he got robbed a little bit there. I think he's definitely at least the top 3 player in the conference, but he still adds some hardware to his collection before he hangs it up. Let's flip the script from talking about our senior to freshman all conference, and we have 2 Skyhawks making the list here. Dwight Easley, Joey Ballard, and I'm sure Saunders had some votes to get on this list, but his spot's been taken up by Matt Payne, Emmanuel O'Brien, and Roger Lewandowski round out the list. So, of course, graduations. We say goodbye to Shaquille Hammond, as the senior was great for us this year, but we got to look towards the future, and we take a look at some other big guys leaving around the conference, as Austin Peay, the number 2 seed in the conference this year, loses 3 starters. Eastern Illinois, they lose Xavier Hodges and Bakari Campbell, 2 high flyers. Anton Cleveland, the top scorer for the Murray State Racers, he graduates as well, along with Paul Roller. Samford loses 3 starters, so the team that put the nail in the coffin for us this year, they're going to be without guys like Grangieri, Joey Metcalf, and their starting point guard Theo McKee. Akeem Ayers, Conference Player of the Year candidate, he will move on from Southeast Missouri. They continue to rebuild there. So, Ken Carter, 13 wins, 16 losses in his college career so far. As looking at the transfer recap, nobody wants to play with us, and it seems like nobody wants to move around the nation. College sports was just a different time, I guess, when this game came out, only 1 transfer throughout the nation. Now we're going to take a look going into the offseason where Coach Carter's recruiting board lies at. The first guy up on Coach Carter's recruiting board is 6'6" forward from New Zealand, 3-star prospect Luke Lawton. And he may be raw, but he's an intriguing mix of an athlete and strength. So, I mean, hey, maybe in his free time he should play some football for Tennessee Martin, maybe some tight end. But on a real note, he seems to have a very strong frame that'll be good for the defensive side and the blue-collar aspects of basketball. We struggled with rebounding in year 1, so an energizer at the wing position off the bench could help plenty. A lot of good rebounding teams in our conference, teams like Samford and Tennessee State. We're going to have to bang with them if we want to compete for a conference title. So that should pay out in dividends for us. We're the only school in his recruiting race right now as well. Number 2 on the board is 6'10" forward Christopher Faye from Senegal, Africa. Good knowledge of the game from this kid. He always seems to make the right play on the floor. Very high IQ player, doesn't force himself into mistakes too often. Right now, he's got a skinny frame. He's going to have to add muscle just to bang the board to the D1 level. A lot of tough rebounding teams in our conference, like I talked about earlier. Faye seems to be pretty mobile, can get around the court pretty easily, and he's shown some ability finishing on the inside, so a pretty solid prospect to go after right now. Number 3 is Neil Young. The only reason why he's not higher is just because we're in a really tight recruiting race between Wofford and Xavier, but these are some pretty good basketball programs we're competing with here for this guy. Junior college transfer, he's going to have 3 years of eligibility left if we are able to snag him. Very strong frame, can play the 2 or the 3, has a similar build and skill set to Luke Lawton, but a more polished version. We shot 39% as a team last year from beyond the arc, and that just means that Neil Young is going to fit in really well if Coach Carter can snag him. He seems to have a good shot from beyond the arc. Dominique Cleveland, a 7-footer from the Windy City. He's very raw like most 7-footers in high school. He's still growing into his body. He's a raw prospect, and he's just really a backup plan if Faye doesn't sign. He can't really shoot the ball outside of underneath the rim, but he can make up for it in other ways. He displays some soft hands inside that'll be key to catch some dimes from Dwight Easley and company for him to cash in on the interior, and if he can prove to be active on the boards, especially the defensive glass, as that was a recurring issue for us, that'll be very key as well. So just having a space eater like Mr. Cleveland here in the rotation will be an asset. Staying with recruiting, this was the first guy Coach Carter ever had on his board, Judd Baldwin, but he signed with Indiana State about halfway through the year, and that only means that Coach Carter is going to want his revenge. He's going to want to play Indiana State in the upcoming season. Judd Baldwin has shown to be a very good shooter at the high school level, and I'm sure that'll translate to the college level as well. So, moving on to our team though. Offseason recruiting has restarted. We got 5 weeks to recruit and sign some players to our team. So let's continue on and see who we can snag. We got 3 scholarships to give out. Right now, our 3 scholarships are given to Neil Young right now, who unfortunately has picked Wofford to play college ball at. So the other 2 guys, of course, is Luke Lawton and Christopher Fay. And Coach Carter decided to give the last scholarship to Dominic Cleveland instead of Neil Young, of course, since he decided to sign with the Wofford Terriers. So Coach Carter continues to work his magic in the offseason, trying to get these players to finally commit and to secure our first commit in the entire series. And as we continue to sim, offseason gets close to ending, and there's our first prospect signed in this series, Dominic Cleveland, 1-star center, 7-footer. Of course, you need a place to start, and this is a good guy to build off of. If we can get Lawton and Fay on top of Cleveland, that's 3 3-stars and a 1-star. Not a bad recruiting class to open up college coaching career for Ken Carter. So, advancing into next season, let's see who could we pull from the high school prospect database. And we signed Christopher Fay and Luke Lawton, so 2 overseas players from Africa and New Zealand respectively will end the offseason for us as we look to next season. So here's the schedule for year 2, and we open up November 1st facing off at Indiana State and Judd Baldwin, trying to get revenge, trying to show him that he signed with the wrong school. We play Furman at home to open up the season. Got a rematch against Belmont, as that was Coach Carter's first coaching win last year, as David Giles had a game-winning 3 to seal it against the Bruins. They're going to look for revenge against us. I'm in the Army myself, so I thought it'd be funny to put Army in here just for a little bit of fun. We play at Southern, then at top 10 school Florida. Then we have 3 home conference games, Sanford, Morehead State, and Eastern Illinois, followed by 5 road games, including Fairleigh Dickinson and top 10 school Washington. So potentially 2 top 25 teams that we're going to be facing off this year. We got Christopher Fay here. We're just looking at some of the skills from a new freshman. Looks to be a good finisher inside. 81 offensive rebounding, can crash the boards. Seems to be a good athlete with 70 speed. So it's just a matter of him, whether he plays power forward or center. We got to figure out where he's best utilized. Luke Lawton, he's got a good mid-range shot. Seems to always want to make the good play. Great defense coming into the season. He's got 78 on-ball defense. Decent athlete. Hustle at an 86. Another guy to do all the little things to come off the bench and give us some valuable minutes. Got Dominic Cleveland, the 1-star center, sitting here, as he will most likely be redshirted to begin his college career. Decent on the inside. 65 free throw, not bad for a guy his size. Needs to continue to get better at fighting for rebounds inside and continue to put on muscle to not be so soft. And we also have a walk-on. Chauncey Cantrell will join the roster, another redshirt for us this season. The walk-on from Oakland, California was a 2-star prospect in high school. He's got decent finishing ability, he's a so-so athlete, and can hit a shot or 2 from mid-range. So moving on to next season, we begin with recapping some of Coach Carter's top interests here in recruiting already in the next season. Coach Carter's on the grind as he wants to build this recruiting class quick and effectively. Coach Carter has 6 or 7 recruits that he has his eyes on, and I'll show you the 3 top recruits that Coach Carter saw a lot of in the offseason. So first, we're going to go down south and meet Lonnie Meredith, a power forward, 6'7", 3-star prospect from Atlanta. Coach Carter made a lot of efforts to see a lot of this kid because he was very impressed with what he saw. Meredith is a blue-collar post, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have any skills on the offensive side. He will definitely make defenses pay, especially when a smaller defender is on him. The 2 things that hold Meredith back from being a big-time scorer on the offensive side is his stature. Only at around 208 pounds, despite standing at 6'7", he's going to add some muscle to be more effective at the college level. And the second factor is just that he's been working on his mid-range shot, but he doesn't quite have one yet. He'll need to continue to extend his range to be able to be a good scorer at the college level. He's a very high IQ player on both sides of the ball, especially on defense. He blocks a lot of shots. As you can see here, he blocked a shot and it led to a fast break opportunity. He also makes an effort to mark in the stat sheet for assists as well. Just overall, you'll see him contributing, putting in stats on every side of the floor. He's a plus free throw shooter as well. Just overall a very solid player on both sides of the floor. He's also very smart. He has all the traits that Coach Carter wants. And as you can see here, one last play for him. A great job leading the break. He's got some athleticism. He can lead breaks. Some decent handles for the 6'7" forward. And in this game, he had a good one. Coach Carter liked what he saw in this game, and he'll continue to work with Lonnie Meredith to try to get a signing. Next recruit on the menu, we got Blaine Fry, a center from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 6'9", 3-star caliber. This guy is not as polished on offense as our first highlighted recruit, but he is great on the defensive side. He's mobile for his size. Once again, we'll have to add some strength to really bang the boards better at the next level, but there he grabs the rebound. He had a good day on the boards, but at the same token, offensively, he just does not seem like a 3-star prospect. I mean, on defense, he's got all the tools you want from a blue-collar post. But on the offensive side, he leaves some left to be desired. He gets a nice pass inside there, and he finishes from inside. But overall, there was a lot of gimmies, a lot of second chance points left on the board from Fry. But I don't want to focus all on the negatives, as he had a great day on the defensive end of the floor. And even on offense, he's got some skill. He sets a textbook screen there, opens up a shooter, no good. And he tries it again, but that's what I'm talking about there. He just doesn't have it from a 3-star recruit, the offense that you want to see. So unfortunately, he'll have to probably be knocked down the list a little bit just because of his offensive ineptitude that he showed today. But other than that, man, on defense, he was great. His team took the loss in this one, but overall, a solid day for him. And finally, the last recruit we will highlight today, our first guard on the schedule. We got 5'8" point Jock Diggs from San Antonio, Texas. Once again, another 3-star prospect. This kid is quick as a water bug. This guy runs the floor really well, cashes in on the inside, provides a lot of early offense just by his wheels and his playmaking. He gets a screen here, and there's another layup as he gives up about a foot with some of those centers inside, but he still is just so crafty finding a shot. This one he fakes like he's going to drive, but pops it from mid-range. He's shown ability to fill it up from inside and from mid-range. His 3-point shooting isn't quite there yet, but like I said, he's just so quick and makes up for it finding his own shot. On defense, he's pretty solid. Nothing mind-blowing, but look at this pass right here. I wish his teammate finished that, because that was one of the best passes that Coach Carter has seen all offseason from any recruit, probably the best. As he picks up, once again, another steal, runs the break, dishes it off to his teammate inside. Another assist for Jock Diggs on the day. Just the type of energy that he brings to the hardwood is just enough for him to be on a roster spot. Did a great job of running the break, getting early offense for him and his team. Very nice blend of scoring and distributing. A guy who could potentially take over for Dwight easily in a few years. So, Coach Carter is very high on Jock Diggs. And finally, next season we open up with a road game against Indiana State. It'll be Ohio Valley versus Missouri Valley in this one. On paper, Indiana State seems to have the better club. A lot of shooting from their team, including the new freshman acquisition of Judd Baldwin. They had a good recruiting class even outside of Baldwin, as we'll see them on full display next episode. So year 2 starts next time. Everybody stay tuned.